So let's talk about why Ronald Araujo, Gavi, Marc Bernal, and Joan Garcia must prove themselves in the 2025-2026 season. Look, the 2024-2025 season under Hansi Flick was marked as a transformative period for FC Barcelona. They have delivered 3 major trophies, and at the same time, we were the most exciting football club in the world when it came to the attack. We were amazing, and we completed so many comebacks. Every player has improved, or at the very least, the ones that were starting in every game. However, they were also exposed to some critical vulnerabilities in key positions. And despite Barcelona's overall success, 4 players have now found themselves in very delicate situations heading towards the new season. For example, after witnessing the first season under Hansi Flick, Araujo's defensive errors cost Barcelona in crucial Champions League moments. Gavi did struggle to recapture the brilliance that he had before the injury. Marc Bernal, he had a very promising breakthrough, but had a very devastating injury early in the season and never really got the chance to prove himself. And then we do have the new signing of Joan Garcia. Now, why am I bringing in Joan Garcia when he was not even a Barcelona player last season? And the reason why is because I think with Joan Garcia, he has to show why he can take on the position of Szczesny and Ter Stegen. Like, could he bring that form that he had at Espanyol and translate it to FC Barcelona? Going back to Ronald Araujo, and let's go deeper into this conversation. If there's one thing that we must know, is that Araujo lost his position to Cubarsí and Inigo Martinez, and that is mainly because of the injury struggles that he had early in the season. It was one of his most challenging periods in his Barcelona career at the age of 26 years old, because before this season, since 2020, he was a cornerstone to the defense, but he is no longer that. The center back missed the first half of the season due to an hamstring injury, and it did require surgery, and that limited him to 1,560 minutes across 25 appearances. And during that absence, the partnership of 18-year-old Pau Cubarsí and the veteran Inigo Martinez, they flourished. They were amazing. They understood how to implement the high defensive line, how to create offside traps, how to be superior in 1v1 defensive duels. And the understanding between Cubarsí and Inigo Martinez was immense. Every time Inigo Martinez had the ball, Cubarsí allowed himself to get open. If Cubarsí had the ball, Inigo Martinez allowed himself to get open. They always had each other's backs. And it was hard for a player like Araujo to just come in and say, I can play better than these 2 players when it was almost impossible. It was just not going to happen. Cubarsí and Inigo Martinez were at a very high level, one of the best defenses in the world. Hansi Flick also acknowledged the difficulty of Araujo's situation, and he stated earlier in the season that it was a really tough season for him with the injury in the beginning, and then to come back, of course, when Pau Cubarsí and Inigo Martinez made a fantastic season playing together, and it was not easy in this moment to come in and show how good he is. Now, once again, 2 goals and 2 assists. It's not bad, because if you really think about it, this is his best goal contribution season, alongside with the 2021-2022 season where he scored 4 total goals. In this season that we have just completed, he had 2 goals and 2 assists. No other season outside of that has been able to compete against these type of numbers. So even though we're saying that Araujo had a really bad season, goals and assist wise, it is the best. However, there is more behind these numbers, because let's talk about the Champions League. There was a defensive performance catastrophe that did take place, hence the reason why so many Barcelona fans in general are not sitting well with Ronald Araujo. The most damaging aspect of Araujo's season came during Barcelona's Champions League semi-final match against Inter Milan, where his defensive errors directly contributed towards Barcelona getting eliminated in the Champions League. For example, he failed to mark any player inside the box when Dumfries made a cross, or when he had to defend against Dumfries and he could not handle the 1v1 situation. It is what allowed Inter Milan to score the 3rd and 4th goal. Ultimately, many came to one conclusion: Araujo could not adapt to Hansi Flick's high defensive line system. It was just too much for him. So Araujo for sure needs to prove himself and to the people why he can still be an elite level center back. Barcelona publicly backed the player. They don't want to let him go. I think that Araujo also does not want to leave. They have extended his contract until 2031. What Araujo needs to do now is to demonstrate why, even after this big injury, he can still perform at a high level and to compete against Cubarsí and Inigo Martinez. Hansi Flick continues to believe in Araujo's potential, and he still describes him as one of the best players in the world in his position. Now let's move on towards Gavi. I believe that the same thing could be said about Gavi here compared to Araujo's story. Gavi returned last season after being out for 10 total months because of an ACL injury that he suffered while representing Spain. And it was quite clear that when he did come back earlier in the season, he did struggle to adapt. He did not have the pre-injury magic that we all talked about between 2020 2020, 2021, and 2022. He recorded only 1 goal and 1 assist across 26 appearances in La Liga, totaling 1,083 minutes. These numbers do show that there was, yes, a significant decline from the previous seasons. Overall, in this season, he had 3 goals and 2 assists in all competitive competitions. Once again, one of the best that he has ever had in his career at Barcelona. Even though we're saying that Gavi played bad, goal contribution wise, once again, Gavi is the best, which is kind of crazy. Gavi had his best season, but all in all, outside of the goals and the assist, Gavi could have given out much more. I mean, there's a reason why he won the Golden Boy award back in 2022 is because he was simply amazing when off the ball. His expected goal rate was 0.85 and goal involvement rate was 0.17 per 90, placing him as a very decent player compared to other La Liga players. It was decent, but it could have been much better. It's an underwhelming attacking output. And going into the next season, given the context of how Barcelona are going to be in the midfield, Gavi's position in the midfield is going to intensify in terms of the competition, and particularly with Pedri, who has maintained such a high performance. I'm like, bro, there is no way any player, any midfielder in the world is going to be able to sit down Pedri. He is just there and nothing more. He cannot be moved at all. Who Gavi's going to have to compete against is either going to be Bernal or Casado. And then you also do have Frankie de Jong, who has also been playing amazing. So the competition is immense. We can even talk about the number 10 position. There is no position right now that is safe for Gavi because the 10 position has Rafinha, Dani Olmo, and Fermin Lopez. And Fermin Lopez had one hell of a season last season. He is a player that I also don't even think needs to prove himself. Fermin Lopez did prove himself last season like he did in the previous season before that one, so that is why he's not on this list. But Gavi has a lot of work to do. I think that what's really going to help Gavi's case is to say, hey, look, I am the best partner to Pedri. I make Pedri better. Because if you can do that and show that to Hansi Flick, Flick will never bench you. He'll say, you are the best partner to Pedri. You make Pedri better. You allow Pedri to play his best football, and I need Pedri to play his best football. Hence the reason why I need you to start next to Pedri. And at the same time, knowing Flick, he wants more dynamic midfield roles. He wants defensive midfielders that are able to contribute more significantly defensively and offensively. Looking at Gavi's current statistical outputs and his performances off the ball, he has yet to adapt to these increased demands. And so look, Gavi is 20 years old. He's still very young. This guy is just a boy. He's young, not even 21 yet. He definitely has room to improve, to get better. He has time to really say, forget about this ACL injury. It was set back a few months ago, and now I'm a new player. He has time to say that. He's just too young. And I do hope that he does recover his form. Hansi Flick has huge plans for the player, but the question is, what are those plans? Especially with Frankie, Bernal, Casado, and Pedri holding the CDM positions. So speaking about defensive midfielders, let's talk about Marc Bernal, because Marc Bernal is once again in the exact same predicament of Gavi and Araujo. However, Marc Bernal played little to almost no minutes. Bernal is simply a player that is based on projections and what he could be. He has immense potential, and out of all players that we have talked about for tonight, Marc Bernal is the youngest one at 17 years old. And yet at 17 years old at that time, he made an immediate impact under Hansi Flick, starting in all 3 Barcelona's opening league matches and accumulating 270 minutes. Before that disaster that he had against Valencia, let me tell you, if you immediately start from the get-go in the beginning of the season under Hansi and you starting in the first 3 matches, that is because Hansi Flick trusts you and he believes that you are good enough. I would honestly tell you guys that Marc Bernal is the closest player that we can get to Sergio Busquets, and we need a player with long legs, a player that has height, a player that showcases immense ability to understand interception, anticipation. Marc Bernal is that guy, and you better bet, right? And this is going to be my own opinion. I'm not saying that this is something that I have heard, but for me, if Marc Bernal finds his level and he improves on top of that, let's just say that in the last season he performed a 8 out of 10, but if Marc Bernal reaches a 9 out of 10 performance going into the next season, Marc Bernal will not be moved next to Pedri. Marc Bernal will be a definitive starter over Frankie, Casado, and Gavi. That is just how it is, if he does end up in that level, because as we all know, it's really hard to get back at your previous level after coming back from injury. Keep in mind that Marc Bernal is going to be in the preseason, and he's going to try and prove to Hansi Flick why he is one of the best. If I did say that Marc Bernal got the injury against Valencia, no, he got it against Rayo Vallecano. I meant to say that he had a great performance against Valencia, but he got injured against Rayo Vallecano on August 27th, 2024. All in all, Bernal was expected to give out more depth, more competition in the midfield, and he was badly needed because we look back in the past 9 to 10 months, Barcelona did struggle to find a consistent CDM, a true pure-bred CDM, and we have been like this, as a matter of fact, since 2022. Never have we ever found a true Sergio Busquets replacement until he came in. So here's going to be the good thing and the good news. There has been recent reports suggesting that Bernal is ahead of schedule in his recovery process and may return earlier when the preseason does start in August 2025. Now lastly, let's talk about Joan Garcia. This one is going to be very simple, and I want to lay it out clear here. Barcelona made Joan Garcia as the first signing this summer, which I think means that Barcelona know that they need a brand new goalkeeper, because if they're going to make Joan Garcia a goalkeeper, the first signing out of all players, Barcelona badly wanted a different goalkeeper. They did not just want to rely on Ter Stegen and Szczesny. And so I would say yes, there is immense pressure on Joan Garcia providing a great level, because last season with Espanyol, he demonstrated exceptional shot-stopping abilities, recording 146 saves. That is the most in La Liga, while also conceding 51 goals across 38 appearances. These type of stats, bro, did place him among the division's most active goalkeepers, and he was operating very well behind a defense, which is Espanyol, that frequently left him exposed to high-quality chances. And Garcia did amazing. He did what he could, and he saved Espanyol. His penalty save percentage and cross-stopping ability have been particularly impressive, and these are areas where Barcelona have struggled in recent seasons. However, his save percentage of 74.1% and overall performance has to be contextualized, right, within Espanyol's defensive struggles. Obviously, he was going to have more shot-stopping ability records because the Espanyol defense just allowed him to get exposed over and over again. So it makes a lot of sense. However, Joan Garcia is Joan Garcia. He stopped those shots, and that is it. That is the facts. This is what Deco does want in the backline, and his number one responsibility is to carry that type of success and performance and bringing that to Barcelona, because you have to show that are you better than Ter Stegen? Because if we look at Ter Stegen's historical save percentage of 82.3%, that is a significant upgrade to where Joan Garcia is at right now, which is 74.1%. So data-wise, Ter Stegen is showing that his save percentage is the best. Okay, like I know that you guys want to say that, oh no, Ter Stegen is trash, and you guys want to troll, right? You guys want to troll and say that Ter Stegen is finished, he's cooked, his knees are done, that he was never a good goalkeeper in the first place, but stats are stats, and that is it. I'm not lying. This is what the stats are showing. With Szczesny, his save percentage is 72%, which is lower than Joan Garcia. So we can see that in terms of save percentage only, Ter Stegen is the best, with Joan Garcia in second and then Szczesny in third. Hence the reason why Szczesny signed a 2-year deal with Barcelona to take on the secondary role. It's just really more about whether Ter Stegen takes the number one spot or Joan Garcia. Barcelona, let me tell you, do not want to have Ter Stegen in the squad. They want to sell him. They want to let him go. But Ter Stegen wants to stay, which makes Joan Garcia's position even more intense. The only thing Joan Garcia has to do, to keep it very simple, is to prove his shot-stopping excellence can be translated at Barcelona. If he can do that, we will be okay. And point number 2 is that Hansi Flick distributes a high defensive line, which means that the goalkeeper is required to be an exceptional sweeper, something that Ter Stegen is not really good at, and I'm pretty sure that with this big injury that he did a cure, it made him slower. Joan Garcia, at the age of 26 years old, is gonna have to act like a phenomenal sweeper. Great sweeping abilities, I'm telling you. Like, you must run to that ball, bro, when the opposition is making a long ball behind our defensive line. You have to run to that. You have to be on point when Kylian Mbappe or Vinicius is running to that ball and making sure that you intercept that ball as fast as possible and have great distributions under pressure. And so we'll see, bro. That is going to be the conclusion. Hansi Flick is going to continue to emphasize high pressing, vertical passing, defensive compactness that is going to be required by all players, all of them. Yes, there might be some modifications, some tweaks going into the next season based off how many goals we have leaked at the back, but all in all, the principles are going to remain the same. Each player's success will be measured not only through their individual statistics, but also through their contribution to Barcelona's collective ambition. And so that is it. That is going to be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.